good morning, everyone. This is the Morning Roast, and I'm your roast host with the most, Kino Subway, also known as Chris Evans. And as always, I have my co-host with me, the man from the Great North, Mr. Simon Potier.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome.
And with us, we have a very special guest, a legend, as they were in the industry, Mr. Mike Barron.
Good morning, folks.
So, Ed, we're here, of course, to talk about his Indiegogo that is currently being funded, Florida Man.
Oh yeah.
So, Mr. Mike, what's Florida Man about?
Gary Duba's having a bad day. There's a snake in his toilet, a rabid raccoon in the yard, and his girl Crystal's in jail for getting naked at a Waffle Hut and licking the manager. So Gary sets off with his best friend Floyd to sell his prize Barry Bonds rookie card to raise the $500 needed for bail. But things get out of hand. This story was inspired by me getting hit between the eyes day after day. Every time I went online, there was a new Florida Man story. Florida Man claims syringe found in rectum is not his. Florida Man arrested for defecating on traffic from light pool. Florida Man leads police on 3.5-hour chase through Walmart attic. And it's like this story chose me. It just captured my imagination, and I wanted to form these elements into a novel, which isn't just a tour of grotesqueries, but an attempt to create a real living, breathing human being who embodies many of these traits. And Gary Duba is the man that I created. He lives in a trailer out by the swamp. He's a roofer by trade. He helps his friend Floyd with his extermination service. And Gary is basically a good-hearted guy, but he's got a hair-trigger temper, and he doesn't always make the best decisions. And he's always scheming how to get ahead. How can I make a buck? Which leads him from one crazy scheme to another. In the graphic novel, when we first meet him, he's dealing with that toilet snake when he gets a phone call from Crystal saying that she's in jail for getting naked at the Waffle Hut and licking the manager, and she needs him to bail her out. So Gary sets off to sell his rookie card to a pawn shop, and it does not end well for Gary. He just seems to get into these imbroglios. And when the pawn shop owner refuses to buy his card for what he thinks it's worth, he runs back out, and the pawn shop's on a canal, and there are a number of gators sunning themselves. So he grabs a gator and runs back in and starts swinging around, saying, you can't treat me this way. In fact, that's the very first thing you see when you click on that video. Now, there are countless Florida Man stories, and I couldn't do them all. So I had to craft my own narrative. And it's about Gary and his girl, Crystal, and their hunt to make it rich. They're not crooks, but they are looking for a quick buck. And this leads Gary into one disastrous scheme after another. You've seen comics before that purport to be funny, and you read through them, and there's some lame sight gags and maybe some puns and some jokes that were ancient in the time of Caesar. Florida Man is not like that. Florida Man is honestly funny. I guarantee you will laugh out loud. Your head will explode. Your eyes will pop out of your skull. And when you're finished, you're going to thrust it in the hands of the person next to you and say, you have got to read this.
Dude, that's a master pitch. I want to get that good at pitching. You got me as soon as you started.
Yeah, I'm very proud of this one. I wish I could tell you what's in it, but what's in it is so outrageous. I want people to discover it for themselves. And when you read it, you'll understand what I mean. And it's not just one outrageous thing. It's one outrageous thing after another. Stuff that's going to make your jaw hit the floor.
Yeah, I've heard people say that that the comedy comics are like the hardest to do, but it sounds like this one is gonna, knock it out of the park.
Yeah. Well, they say death is easy, comedy is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll play the video. Since
Oh,
you were
yeah.
saying that.
Yeah.
Hey man, y'all got beer still?
You've seen the stories. Now, writer Mike Barron and artist Todd Mulrooney are bringing the quintessential Florida man, Gary Duba, to life. Gary's just a regular guy living in a trailer with his girlfriend Crystal, but he's got dreams, big dreams. He just invented house suspenders that will secure any home to the ground in rough weather. And now he's going to show them off on Piranha Pool, the TV show where venture capitalists and entrepreneurs pony up if they like your pitch. But when his gal Crystal gains notoriety as an infamous amateur wrestler, she quickly advances to the pro circuit where her greatest challenge is an angry Australian grappler. Follow Gary and Crystal on their extraordinary journey from rags to riches. To rags, to riches, to rags, to riches. All while dealing with shady lawyers, toilet snakes, wild gators, cheating hearts, feral hogs, and problem shoppers. Back Florida Man today and reserve your very own copy of the Florida Man graphic novel. We're bringing back funny books, y'all.
That's a really well done trailer, Mike.
Chris Brawley put that together. Chris is kind of running the show here. I wouldn't know how to raise a crowdfunder, but Chris does. And there's stuff in the book that's, as I said, I can't give away any secrets, but it's pretty outrageous. And when people say, you go to a comedy and you're disappointed, or you back a crowdfunded book and you're disappointed with the content, it doesn't thrill you. It doesn't make you remember. It doesn't make you order another copy and double bag it. I guarantee you, no one will be disappointed in Florida Man.
Well, based on that pitch, I don't think so either. it sounds as wild as the meme, as it were.
I think it's going to outstrip all the memes. Or you'll see what I mean. Because a lot of it's original. I mean, I had to craft the story myself. I'm not just stringing together events that I read about on floridaman.com. That's a real site, by the way, and it's a hoot. They collect every Florida Man story there is, and there are probably there's tens of thousands of them. I'm not exaggerating. It seems like there's a couple every day. I don't know why that is. It seems to me that all the crazies and psychopaths shake down out of the United States into the sock that is Florida at the bottom, because of gravity. But there are other states in competition all the time. You'll see it. Carolina man arrested for trying to kill neighbor with kindness, and kindness is the name of his machete. That's actually a Florida Man story, but I borrowed it. That's a real Florida Man story.
Sometimes I wonder if those stories are like fake, because some of them are so out there and wild.
No, you look at the mug shots and they're not fake.
But Hex Allen says good morning.
Good morning, Hex.
We have, of course, Officer Soul here saying good morning as well. Dotem Darkstar. Let's see here.
Hex wants to know if Barry Bonds shows up in the story. No, Hex, just his card, just the rookie card.
That Barry Bonds rookie card. That sounds like something from here in West Virginia.
We do have some other outstanding sports figures in the story, and some other celebrity sightings that I can't mention.
Like Soul saying that trailer is gold. Yeah, I know. And I'm sorry, Mike. You may say you don't know nothing about crowdfunding, but you know how to sell a goddamn book.
Well, I know how to talk.
Oh my! We got 64 pages.
It keeps growing. I think that's the limit now. But if it's successful, we're going to do another one, and the next one's going to be even more outrageous. And once you read Florida Man, you're going to say to yourself, how can anyone possibly top this?
And you already have plans to top yourself, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. It started out as a comic. I wrote 5 scripts, and then when I was done, I realized I had an outline for a novel. So I wrote the novel, and I showed it to my publisher. It was in print a month later. You can find it on Amazon. It's called Florida Man by Mike Barron, and it's my most successful novel. But the comic is something different. I mean, there are similarities. They do contain similar plot points, but the comic is very different in the second half, which I rewrote completely from the ground up when I realized that we were going to do this crowdfunder. And the next one's going to be even more outrageous. I'll give you a hint, is that Florida deals with a lot of invasive species. For example, the Burmese python, which pet shops imported, and then when they got too big, people just turned them loose in the Everglades. And now there's a huge problem with Burmese pythons all over the state, so much so that once a year, Florida holds a python hunt, in which you register, and there are prizes for whoever captures the biggest python to cull those pythons. They're all over. And the python's just the tip of the iceberg. I don't have to tell you about the nutria problem, or maybe I do. A nutria looks like a beaver without the tail, and it's a South American rodent that's exploded throughout the American South. It's everywhere. It's eating up infrastructure. It's crowding out native species. And it's a real problem. And one way they deal with it in New Orleans is that there's a restaurant that specializes in nutria, and they have contests to come up with nutria recipes. Well, why not? I mean, people will eat anything. People will eat rattlesnakes. And in my novel, this doesn't happen in the comic, but in the novel, Gary opens up a restaurant that specializes in iguana. It just serves nothing but iguana. Well, I mean, you can get a hamburger on the side. It's called the Lizard Lounge. And it's due to the fact that iguana is a very popular food throughout Latin America, and it's making inroads in Florida as well. And also because iguana is an invasive species that's taken over Florida, and they're now offering bounties on iguana, and they have a real problem with tribes of battling iguana. Apparently they choose sides, and then they fight each other for hours and hours. That's in the book. I'll give that away.
A quick question, like, for some people that may not know you come from the Badger, right? Nexus. You've worked for Marvel. You wrote some of the best Punisher stories. Was this like new to you to do something fully like a full comedy? Like, I don't remember you doing full like you had funny moments in some stories, like like the Badger and stuff like that. But to actually have like a full on comedy, I don't remember you doing that before.
Well, I think that probably about 1/3 of all the Badger stories are comedy. I mean, just crazy situations. So I put them in, like the one with the Three Stooges. And there's one I did called Cruising with the King, which features Bruce Lee and Elvis. But there's a whole bunch of those that I did for fun. But at the same time, you have to create a story. And what is a story? Well, it's a dynamic narrative with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that means that things are constantly in flux. The hero's goals and safety are always in doubt. Because if you have a story where a guy is perfectly complacent, he's happily married, he goes to his job every day, at night he watches TV and drinks beer, and he never has any problems, well, that's not compelling. That's not what people want to read. It's not drama. Drama is conflict, and stories must have conflict to move forward. At least my stories do.
You okay, Chris? is the coffee play on your stomach?
It's the coffee.
Yes, Hex points out that in the most recent Badger, which came out 4 years ago, Badger fights Putin. Vladimir Putin's the bad guy. And I'll post some of the art to your message board on Twitter, so you can put that up. And we were very glad that President Putin gave us permission to use his likeness and bless the book. And for that, we're very grateful.
Oh, really?
No.
That's sweet.
No.
Okay, if you had any doubts that Mike can be funny.
All right. See that? That's the cover. There's Putin on the cover. And here's one of the scenes from the comic. Oh, wait. No, that's not Putin. That's not Putin. Ignore that. Let me get another one. But we enjoyed doing it so much, I may use Putin again.
Oh, okay. I see now. Now, Sim, how do I get the pictures from
Oh,
the
I don't
DMs onto the
I
stream?
don't know.
Hmm?
How do I get Matt the pictures he sent me from the DMs on Twitter onto the StreamYard to show people?
But one, you can also either open the DM and share your thing, or you can just download them in a specific file, so you don't have to dox anything.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's not important. I'll keep talking.
Oh, we want to see it.
Okay. See.
I was asking before because it's like me. Since I've been doing comics, I've been doing mainly like sci-fi and fantasy. Like there's a bit of everything in it. And when I never really wanted to hit, like I had no interest of doing some horror, right? Until somebody goes, maybe you should try and do like horror. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll write something. I'll start like a one-shot short story. Now I ended up writing like a 3-parter trilogy type of thing.
Is it in production?
Yeah, number one's out now. I'm in fulfillment right now.
Oh, Simon, let's trade comics.
Hmm?
I want to see it. Let's trade comics.
Yep, no problem.
You gonna show it off, Sim?
Yep. Here's
I love horror.
so
Very, very
sorry,
nice.
it's a bit dark in here.
Yeah, I'll see it better when we exchange comics, because I would love to see that. I've written 3 horror novels. One is called Banshees, and it's about a satanic rock band that comes back from the dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then Scorpio is about a ghost who only appears under a blazing sun. And Domain is the ultimate haunted house story. They're all on Amazon. They don't get much traction because I'm not talking about them all the time, but I'm very proud of them. They're really good books, and I should probably push them some more. But, I don't know how to do that.
Oh, we'll help. That's for sure.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Oh,
I
yeah.
already have. Thank you, gentlemen.
Like it's where I was going. It's a lot of people are like, how do you get better at art? How do you get better at writing? I'm like, you need to step out of your comfort zone. Like sometimes go do something you would not regularly do, and you might like it more than you think.
Well, I have a theory that every would-be writer has a million words of bullshit clogging up his system, and you have to get that out until you get to the good stuff. So the most important advice I can give any would-be writer is plant your ass in the chair and force yourself to write every day. And I've been doing it all my life.
And I'm doing the same art-wise. Every day I wake up and I draw. And draw all day. There's no other way of getting better.
True. And
It's
I also carry a notepad with me and a pen at all times. And if I get an idea, I write it down. And I tell
Same
everybody
here.
to do it.
Same here. I have a pen next to my bed in case I wake up and I have something to
Me
write.
too. Me too.
Are you still there, Chris?
I think I'm getting it figured out.
Yeah, don't worry about it. If you want to see that stuff, I'll post it all on my Twitter feed, which is at Bloody Red Baron. At Bloody Red Baron. I'll go post that stuff now, so you can please follow me and take a look. I'm going to be posting some Badger art.
Oh, come on now.
Why is it's not working?
No, apparently I can't share the screen on with the Internet Explorer, so I gotta open it with something else. Oh, I'm boomering it, I guess.
It would seem like it. You should be able to right click on the image and go open with window pictures, and that should allow you to share.
Yeah. It doesn't show window pictures.
Then you go choose other program.
Yeah, I got like Internet Explorer, Photoshop, Notepad, Paint, VLC Media Player, Windows Media Player, and WordPad.
Thanks, Soul Ion.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, so Soul is not only our mod, he's like our chat co-host.
Sim just likes him because Soul gives me a hard time all the time.
Of course, I love Rose. I love Soul.
Oh, wait. Could I do it this way? Probably not.
Well, I should sing or something here.
I was going to say the same thing.
In the second Florida Man novel, which is called Hogzilla, it's kind of like Moby Dick, only instead of a whale, it's got 1,000-pound feral hog that Gary becomes obsessed with because it's destroying his neighborhood, and finally it destroys his house. I don't know if I'm going to use that in the next book or so, but if I do, it'll be epic. Because these 1,000-pound hogs exist. I have pictures of them. And in fact, I will send you a picture of the 1,000-pound hog.
And there you go. Badger by Mike Barron.
Right. There we go. If I switch tabs, does it still show it? Or is it still showing me? Okay, good.
Oh, yeah, that's a page from the first of the new Badger series that came out 4 years ago. But there's no Putin in it. I don't know. I just clicked it on before I took a look. But the next page shows Putin battling a tiger.
Can I ask you, where do they come out? Because I haven't seen them pop out.
I think it was 2016. Let me just check that right now. No.
Let's see. Chuckles.
There we go. Yes, it was in 2016 that the series appeared. And they have been collected into a trade paperback, and you showed the cover. And if you want it, just go to the First Comics page. You can order anything you want to have it shipped directly to your house from the First Comics homepage.
First comic. Okay. We'll be checking.
Oh,
because it's one of the things that I've been, it's just not in indie comics or CG. It's, like I thought, I didn't know that was still coming out.
What, Badger? Well, it comes out sporadically. As you know, the comic industry is in free fall right now, which is why so many of us are over here doing independent comics via crowdfunding. Marvel and DC, I'm sure you've heard the talk that there's a real danger they're going to stop publishing comics altogether. Marvel is currently licensing their characters to IDW, which is also in real trouble. And the reasons why they're in trouble are many. The biggest unspoken reason is the rise of video games. The fact is that a good video game just gives you a lot more bang for your buck than a $4 or $5 comic, because most of the comics put out by the big two are not that compelling.
True.
And it's the writing. The greatest special effect in the world is a good script, and it's also the art. And people have accused Marvel and DC of hiring cheap foreign labor so that they can lower their costs. I don't know whether that's true or not. I really don't follow Marvel or DC these days. I read independent comics, but I see what they post, excerpts from new Marvel comics, and I'm not surprised that people aren't buying them. The writer's first duty is to entertain, and I always keep that foremost in my mind. My goal always is to grab the reader by the throat and drag him into the narrative to the exclusion of all else. The reader has to care. The reader has to want to know what happens next, which is the essential question in all fiction. What happens next? If the reader doesn't care, he doesn't turn the page. So how do you make the reader turn the page? Well, there are many ways to do this. You can do this with a compelling plot. You do it by offering a sympathetic and dynamic character. You can do it with a seductive narrative voice. or you can do it with a crazy premise like Ringworld by Larry Niven. I don't know how many science fiction fans we have here, but Ringworld is a huge artificial world that looks like the rim of a bicycle tire, only it's 100,000 miles across in diameter, and in the center is a small artificial sun. And the ring world circles the sun, and there's a number of bands surrounding the sun to create night and day. And it's a good idea. And there are a lot of books based on Ringworld that Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle. And it's just, from that concept, of course, they make it compelling by writing about sympathetic characters. I believe the reader wants to identify with somebody. They need somebody in the story for whom to root, for the most part. Now, there are always exceptions from this, like the Flashman novels from Britain, which are based on an absolute cad, but they're very funny, so people read them. But I always try to create a sympathetic character, unless I'm writing some grim little horror story, like based on EC crime stories or stale something like that, where you just introduce a vile character who digs his own grave and then pulls the dirt in after him. But that's not my thing. I like heroic characters. I believe in moral fiction in the sense that ultimately good should be rewarded and evil should be punished. Now, there are many shades of this, and you don't always get the result that you want. And many of my endings are bittersweet because there's a terrible cost often to the protagonist. But I hope that when the reader's done, he will feel satisfied that the story's complete and that hopefully he'll want more.
Yep. The good old principle of a page turner.
Yeah, something to get people really immersed into the story.
Yeah, it's one thing that I was saying before. It's like, like that the art of it isn't like you want to make your reader want to turn the page, but sometimes you don't want them to. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you want to make them hesitate from going like, I don't want to turn the next page.
Well, yeah, if you're doing something scary, and I love horror comics, and I've done a bunch of them, but horror is the worst medium for comics are the worst medium for horror. And the reason is it's only a comic book, and the picture you draw on the page, no matter how horrible, can never match what you conjure in your own mind from a good novel or what the special effects artists can conjure in a movie. And a movie is a much better medium for horror because it controls the pacing and the lighting and the sound, and those are all essential to building a story. So when you're watching a good horror movie like The Ring or The Exorcist, your heart is in your throat. You don't want to watch, but you can't look away. And seldom is that the case in comics. I remember picking up the original Swamp Thing drawn by Bernie Wrightson back in the day, and the werewolf issue. He had a terrific werewolf issue. And when the werewolf is revealed, you turn the page and there's a magnificent Bernie Wrightson drawing of a werewolf taking up the whole page. But it's just a werewolf. It's just a drawing. You admire the drawing. You don't for 1 second think it's real. And the story stops dead for a full page. I'm not big on using a full page in the middle of a story for anything unless the reveal is worth it. And by that, I usually mean a complicated scene like when you stumble on a lost city in the jungle. That's worthy of a full page. But a big drawing of a monster, we like it. We want that drawing to be big, but it doesn't have to fill the whole page. And so my comics are often filled with, when the big moment comes, it's a third of a page or a half of a page, because those little panels at the bottom carry the story forward. And that's part of the dynamics. The story has to continue. And when you devote a full page spread to a talking head, no matter what he says, the story stops there while you're looking at the head and you're reading his words, but there's no dynamism. There's no action taking place.
Mm-hmm.
Soul says Mike just oozes storytelling talent. That's certainly true. I could sit here and listen to this all day.
Well,
You can see the writing is his life.
it's all self-taught. These are all my theories and philosophies that I developed myself, but I've had a lot of help along the way from people who write and people who taught writing. I had a great teacher in college. His name was Jerry McNeely, and he used to write the Marcus Welby Show, which is something you never heard of. But Dr. McNeely said, you make them laugh a little bit, you make them cry a little bit, you scare the hell out of them, and that's entertainment. And I've never forgotten that.
It is accurate.
Right.
And the end one is then they ask for more. That's how it is. If you know, one of the things that I got people is like, oh, I want to make sure that people like it. I want to make sure that it's perfect. I'm like, dude, just write your goddamn story. Do it. Just do what you would like. Somebody else will like it. Stop trying to like please everybody because you won't please no one.
Right. Well, I feel the writer has to please himself if he's
Yeah.
going to please others. And the writer also has to surprise himself sometimes. And you'll do that if you create a fully fleshed out character. And you know what I mean. Once you've created that character, he's going to tell you what he would do next
Mm-hmm.
based on the way you've created him.
Yeah.
Now, I always write a detailed outline before I undertake a big project, but the outline often gets tossed aside about halfway through because the characters have minds of their own and they start dictating the plot. And that's part of surprising yourself. You'll get to a point in the story when you ask yourself, well, what happens next? We have the protagonist is sealed in a locked room with no way out. What happens next? And then you think, and then you say, aha! And that's when you surprise yourself, and then you're going to surprise the reader.
Yeah, I'm on the same way. Like one of the videos that I love was one of Kirby when he said, like, you know, to him the characters are alive in his head. They live, they breathe, and it's the same principle that I apply when I work on a character. Like I designed the character, I wrote the character. I'm trying to get his attitude, and it's one of the things I said to people is like, to me, I need to feel him. I need to know that he's alive in my head, and it's the same for the universe that he's in. The moment that I know that he's alive, that I can kind of gauge, like, you know, like a friend, like your best friend, you know how he's gonna react to certain things. When you get to that point, that's where I'm gonna write.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have characters like that. And the thing is, though, I really enjoy writing about the world we live in for the most part. And that's why so many of my novels, at least like the Biker series, take place in the here and now. And there's no fantastic or supernatural element in them. At the same time, I just crowdfunded my Nexus novel, which is pure science fiction. And it's about orders. It's about world building and speculative fiction and mind-blowing stuff. And when I work in the world of Nexus prose, when I'm writing these novels, and I'm writing a second one now, it's incredibly liberating because it's like I'm freed from the bonds of gravity that tie me down when I'm writing about the real world, as I do when I'm writing my biker novels. And I love the biker novels. I can't wait to get back to them. I was halfway through the 8th biker novel when I had to stop and start working on other stuff, which is more pressing. But I'll get back to it. And if you don't know what biker is, it's a series I created featuring a reformed motorcycle hoodlum who went to prison, found God, and comes out trying to turn his life around. His name is Josh Pratt. And his father abandoned him when he was 15 years old, and he bounced from foster home to foster home. And eventually he joined a biker gang, which was the first real family he ever had. And the stories are grim. And they're in the tradition of classic noir. If you've read Philip Marlowe or Jack Reacher, you know the type of character I'm talking about. A tarnished knight, someone to whom people turn as a court of last resort when they can't get satisfaction, when they've been wronged and the law won't help them. Finally, they turn to Josh, and he's a very soft-hearted character. He does not wear his Christianity on his sleeve, but it's there in the book. But he gets into the most awful scrapes. They're extremely violent. It's the kind of thing I set out wanting to write ever since I was a kid, because the first thing that really inspired me to write was John D. MacDonald and his Travis McGee stories, especially The Deep Blue Goodbye. Now, you may wonder who John D. MacDonald is. He was a great pulp writer, but you know his work. He wrote Cape Fear, which has been turned into two movies. Yeah, and you've all seen Cape Fear. That's John D. MacDonald. It's pure John D. MacDonald. And he's the reason I'm writing today. And Josh Pratt is my attempt to create a Travis McGee-like character.
Soul says you can find Biker on Amazon. Thank you, Soul. I was actually curious about that.
Always on point.
Yeah, he is. Always count on Soul. Now, I told my mother I was going to have this show, and I told her a little bit about yourself, Mr. Barron, and she said she had actually a couple questions. She doesn't know anything much about comics or anything, but she wanted to know like how you got started into the business, the industry and all.
Well, I always wanted to do comics. I was living in Boston, and I was trying to teach myself how to draw. So I thought, well, if Bernie Wrightson can do it, and he never had any formal training, I can do it too. Well, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, but it did teach me one thing, and that's how to construct a comic. Because for 10 years, I wrote comics by simply drawing each page out by hand. My art is crude, but it's good enough for anybody to see what I want and what should go in the panel. And editors and artists loved it because they would look at one page and would translate to the page they were working on. They didn't have to wade through reams of prose like some people do. I'll never forget, I was over at the dude's house one day, and he was working on a new project. And I'm not going to name the writer, but he turns to me and says, "You want to see a piece of shit? Do you want to see a piece of shit?" And he picks up a wad of papers that was like at least 2 inches thick, and he threw it against the wall, and it broke apart, and papers were flying all over. And he was mad because this 2-inch wad of paper was for a 24-page comic. It was like 100 pages of script description and dialogue and whatever.
Hey, boy.
But there's no trick to comics. You look at the pictures and you read the words. I was going to tell how I got started. But so then I moved back to Madison, Wisconsin. I was working at an insurance company when I got a phone call from an editor at a newspaper. He said, "Mike, there's a guy down here trying to sell us his art, and he draws just like you." So I met Steve Root on the steps of the student union. He showed me his portfolio, and right away I stopped trying to draw. I said, "Dude, what do you want to do?" He says, "Well, I want to do comics, but I don't know how to write." And I said, "Well, I want to do comics, but I don't know how to draw." And we were in the right place at the right time when we heard that Capital City wanted to publish their own comics. Capital City Distribution was the second largest comic book distributor in the world. It was a $20 million corporation with footprints in many countries. But when the distribution columns fell, they had to sell out to Diamond, which is unfortunate because it was a great company and they did great things. But I dreamed up Nexus, and I did the first 12 pages. I drew them out. I gave them to Dude. He illustrated them, and we showed them to the boys at Capital Comics, and they said, "Yeah, we're going to publish this." And that was my big break. And because of that, and Nexus made a huge splash in the comic community, I was contacted by Marvel and DC and asked to write for them. Hex wants to know Miles Davis or John Coltrane. I got to go with Miles, Hex. I saw him once.
It's going to start pumping out curveball questions.
That was a curveball question.
And then here's a question for both you and Sim. She actually wanted to ask, I guess, to like artists and writers. She said, do you guys have like a favorite piece of work you've done, or something you're the most proud of?
There are works I'm very proud of, and some not so much. Fortunately, the not so much crowd I left over 10 years behind. I went through a rough period in my life. I had been trying to write novels all my life, and they were just dreadful, and I knew they were dreadful. But then I stopped. I stopped trying to write novels for a number of years. And when I came back to them, everything clicked and I understood. And now I have the power. And I'm very proud of most of the novels I have in print. And that includes the entire biker line, Banshees, Scorpio, and Domain. And I think they can hold their own against the best horror novels that are out there today. And of course, Florida Man. And we're also launching a new series of comic books. We crowdfunded Cue Ball, which is a martial arts espionage thriller. And now we're being wooed by 3 publishers, and we don't know which one we're going to go with. But my partner in Cue Ball is an amazing artist named Barry McLean. I'm going to just post a little Cue Ball art here for you. Barry is a monster. Every time he sits down at the board, he gets better. I've never seen anything like it in my life. This is just the Cue Ball promo picture that he did.
Oh, I missed some things.
You know, me on my end, I would say like I'd be torn between 2. Like Wolf Dragon was like the first story actually finished, wrote, drew, and published. You know, like I was trying to write the perfect story. Like I was stuck in that freaking thing for years, trying to rewrite until somebody told me, you know, finish not perfect, get it out. Like if you try to do the perfect one, you'll never have nothing out. Just put it out. And you know, like Mike said, the first one that came out, you know, you're like, okay. I'm proud of them because they're out. That's what made me out. But right now, I'm working on what it's bringing back. What my favorite work was, Not the Merc. It's the one that I don't know.
Guys, I'm going to have to click out for a minute and click back in.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
I'm getting a bad echo here. I will be right back. Don't worry. I will be
No
right
problem.
back.
No worries.
And yeah, Not the Merc was me being comfortable, and so it's right now that's what I'm going back to. So that's why I'm so freaking ecstatic about bringing back the Nadverse. Like it was like all those years, all those trying, all those failures. Then you go, okay, now that I've tried, now that it's out, and after taking a lot of criticism, I feel freaking like ready to take something on, and it was, you know, like it was effortless, you know, and it was fun. And as you guys know, what Not the Merc is to me, it's like an homage to Meta Baron, Heavy Metal Magazine, everything that's ever been sci-fi. It's there. Like Wolf Dragon was everything that was myth, legend, Arthurian legends, and you ended up with the last dragon on Earth.
Dark Star, thank you for backing the book. And now Hex wants to know Thelonious Monk or Ornette Coleman. I got to go with Monk. In fact, the first LP I ever bought was Solo Monk. This is some of Barry's work for Cue Ball. These are just promotional pieces. They're not from the story.
It's looking good.
Oh crap, that's the same one.
Reminds me of a character that was in the Heroes of the North called 8 Ball.
Hex mentions Todd Mulrooney, who's my partner in Florida Man. Yes, Todd is another one of these artists who gets better every time he sits down at the board. His work is just astonishing. You can see quite a lot of it on the Florida Man Indiegogo page, but there's a lot more, of course, that we can't show yet. I'll show you the postcard. Because that cat is out of the bag, and I don't think he'd mind if I show you the postcard. There it is.
There we go. Here's the other Cue Ball page. I tell you, Mike, I'm glad you're here. You're forcing me to learn all kinds of stuff about this, about how to do this.
Did you see that postcard, the Coppertone ad?
Yes, sir. I'm
Yeah.
ready to bring it up now.
It's on the the crowdfunding page, but it's a much better look at it. And that was all Todd's idea. And you've seen the cover too, with Gary riding the alligator over traffic. That was all Todd's idea too. He said he was channeling Slim Pickens from Dr. Strangelove. Dr. Strange. I don't know if you've seen Dr. Strangelove. It's a comedy. It's a funny movie.
Yeah, it is. It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
That's right. And the backers are going to get this postcard too. And then this is the design that's also on the lunchbox and the towel.
Sweet. Yeah, you got your campaign has all kinds of goodies in it. Here, the featured tier here is $150, and you get like a T-shirt, a lunchbox, a beach towel. You get postcards.
We're going to throw in some gator links too. They'll be in the lunchbox. We're going to freeze dry them. Just add water. Do you know how many recipes there are for gator? I have friends who've eaten gator. I have never eaten gator, but at the first opportunity, I will.
I've had gator jerky.
How was it?
It wasn't bad actually.
Did it taste just like chicken?
No, no, it was not taste like chicken. It was. It's been years now, because I had. It was like They had all these. I went to a store. They had all these like exotic jerkies, like gator and all kinds of stuff. And I tried the gator one. It wasn't bad, but I think I'll stick with chicken.
Let's see, my old pal Justin is on here. He's had gator in Denver.
Gator tail. Wow. Oh, Red Syrup. Good morning, Red Syrup.
We don't get gators up north.
Justin says it tastes pretty good.
I said, did you put red syrup on it?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try it again sometime.
Yeah.
64 pages for $25 for Florida Man.
And
I like that.
You know, gator is not an endangered species. There's a show on the History Channel, of course, called Swamp People, and every episode is the same. So, well, we got to go get that gator. It's a pretty big gator, and it's menacing the kids and the pets. And they take off through the swamp, and the camera follows them in their swamp boat as they go up this swamp. And then they hook the gator, usually with a raw chicken on a grappling hook, and then one of them's yelling, "Draw it close to the boat! Draw it close to the boat!" And he's sighting with a rifle, and they always have a shot of the guy taken from the tip of the rifle, looking back at him, so he's looking right down at you. And then they show the gator thrashing around, and then when he shoots the gator, they always cut away. They never show him actually shooting the gator. And I'm thinking, and this is like it's in its 8th year. And I'm saying, why don't they ever show him shooting the gator? And somebody explained to me, well, there's a regulation against showing cruelty to animals, so they can show everything but shooting the gator, which is ridiculous. You can show shooting people, but you can't show shooting the gator. That's why the people tune in. I say, shoot the gator, let the gore fly.
Yep. I agree. I'd watch it.
Yeah. Oh, my niece used to watch that show all the time because she would always watch the Animal Planet and all them, the ones that always shows the animal shows. And oh man, she used to love that swamp thing. There was a guy in there who always made this like ee sound or something, and she would just be like, oh.
There's another show on the Discovery Channel, of course, called American Hoggers. And it's about a Texas family that goes out day after day to shoot feral hogs with the dogs.
Oh, Hex has another question. He says, this is the F, Marry, Kill of jazz artists. Everything comes in threes. Last one, Eddie Harris or Ramsey Lewis?
Well, I got to go with Eddie Harris. I met Eddie once, and he was quite a character.
So you want to go over the tiers a bit?
Well, they're a mystery to me. This is why I have Chris or Todd. If Todd were here, he'd explain them to you. But I know that you can add anything in any tier, and that the premiums include a digital copy of the comic, but most importantly, they include the postcard, the towel, and the lunchbox.
Yeah, if you want to get all the
The beach party
all the
bundle.
stuff, you can get this beach party bundle for $150. It gets you like the T-shirt, the lunchbox, the beach towel, some postcards. you get
At
you get
one of
pretty
the
much all
upper
of it.
tiers, at one of the upper tiers, we will put you in the comic. We will draw you into the
Oh
comic.
yes, that is right here for 1,500. You can be a ladies wrestling ballet. Uh,
Oh,
that's
ladies
good.
wrestling ballet.
Yeah, that's the person who accompanies Crystal or her opponent, Rock Lobster, into the ring.
Which that wouldn't be a bad tier to get with this good
No,
art.
I
that
think
bought.
we sold one of them, and there might be another one there, but
Oh yeah, you sold the referee one.
space is limited. Sign up now. Well, we're going to have this big wrestling scene in a theater with big crowds, and we're going to put people in the crowds in the front row, standing up and cheering or waving something to show their support for Crystal.
If you just want the book, it's $25, which I think that's a really good price. 64 pages for 25. I think that's good.
I guarantee again, no one will be disappointed by this book.
And then if you want to get your book autographed, it will be $50 for the autograph pack.
That's because they got to fly Todd and I into some site, I think in South Carolina where Chris is based, so we can all spend a day signing stuff in one room, which I haven't done in a long time.
No, that's cool. I always like seeing the retailer bundles.
That's for retailers who want to carry the book. We're trying to make it as easy as possible, and once again, this is a book that people are going to cherish and tell their friends about. And even though it's not superheroes, that's one of the things we've had to fight uphill about, because it's not superheroes, and the market certainly favors superheroes, but we have enough superheroes. This is something that called out to me, and all I have to say is go to Amazon, look up Florida Man by Mike Barron, and read the reviews.
That is one thing I like about this whole independent scene and stuff like that. It's just the variety of what the stories. It's not just guys in capes. It's all kinds of stuff. And
You can use comics to tell any type of story.
It's one of the things I used to say. Like, people forget that superheroes started by either mythology or science fiction.
I think that, technically we say superheroes started with Siegel and Schuster, but before that we have legends going back to the dawn of time, like Gilgamesh and the great ancient Greek gods, Zeus and Apollo, because man has an inherent need for legend, a need for story. We have to satisfy that need, and even people that have nothing to do with the entertainment industry, they have their favorite programs, and there are very few people that aren't drawn in by the allure of pop culture. It's everywhere now.
So everybody out there, please check this book out. It sounds like a hell of a lot of fun. Hey, we gained some. We're up to 22,675 now.
Whoa, thanks, guys. A man goes to a zoo. There's only one animal, a dog. It's a Shih Tzu. Delayed reaction. I don't usually do jokes, but I like that one because it's short.
That's good. You broke Chris, Mike.
I'm trying to get well, there was some controversy with Florida Man. I heard about. I don't know anything about, what is it, Reddit? I
Yeah,
think it was what they were saying that you got kicked off of Reddit or something.
yeah. I'd never heard of Reddit before they banned us, and that's because Chris posted on Reddit, and Chris is one of the editors of Bleeding Fool. And if you would know about Bleeding Fool, you know that it's an important comic book site filled with news, and it offers an alternative point of view to, say, Bleeding Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and to most of the comic book sites. Bleeding Fool offers just a different perspective, as does Bounding Into Comics.
And if you don't know about them, check them out and go sub.
Right.
Yeah, I actually never knew about Bleeding Cool. I had actually heard about Bleeding Fool first because I don't pay attention to none of the comic book sites and stuff like that. And I'd never paid attention to Reddit either. And then I kept hearing on like the streets and stuff that you guys got kicked out of it. And I'm like, well, why did you get kicked out of it? It's just Florida, man.
I guess that Reddit is staffed by emotionally fragile adolescents who can't tolerate another point of view. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I've never been to Reddit. I don't know. You can go there and judge for yourself. But the story is on Bleeding Fool, if you look for it. And it's on a few other sites as well. In fact, it's on a lot of sites. A lot of people covered it. Because, as you know, Florida Man is its sole purpose is to entertain. And we have a statement right there on the page that's all we're about, is to give you the best comic reading experience you've ever had. We're not trying to pitch a narrative or lecture you about anything, and it's completely neutral. So it was very surprising to all of us that Reddit banned our pitch based solely on the involvement of Chris, because he's an editor of Bleeding Fool.
Well, you know that war with comedy, period. You can't even make a joke anymore.
No.
Yeah, it's a shame when the only agenda in Florida Man is to maybe make people laugh or something, and people
maybe.
get so upset.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, even the people at Reddit, if they take a look at Florida Man, they're going to laugh their ass off. They're going to love it. I guarantee you, everybody's going to love this, except maybe a few prudes. It's a little risque, but it's nothing that's not PG-13. I mean, there's nothing grotesque or offensive in it, but there is stuff that's shocking, and you'll see what I mean when you read it. I hear squeaking.
Yeah, it's my door. My niece just came in. She's got to get the vacuum.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. We're getting close to the hour, buddy.
Oh, okay. Oh, I run such a tight ship here. Let me tell you.
Okay, that's why I'm here.
Are you guys going to rebroadcast this after it's over?
We technically just retweet it. We leave the same stream up and retweet.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's very good indeed. Retweeted.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize you were so prolific, Mike, until like I went, because like I was sitting there and I realized like a bunch of my books had your name on it.
It's a mystery to me. Just seems most of the time I just sit around here with my thumb up my ass, but some of these books get written.
The other day, even a little while back, my brother had went to a flea market, I think, and he called me and said, "Hey, there's a bunch of comics here," and he named some off, and I was like, "Oh, get me those! I hadn't heard of those." Or, "Hey, that one sounds kind of neat," and he brought them over, and I was looking at them, and there's a Mike Barron book. It was Atari Force and
What
stuff.
was it?
Atari Force.
Oh yeah, that's one of my very first comics.
I was like, "Oh, neat," because I heard Atari Force. I was like, "Hey, I remember the Atari from back when. I'll go ahead and pick that up. Sounds kind of interesting." And yeah, because one book that I really liked, I got in a long box when I was younger, big old long box. My parents knew nothing about comics. They just called them funny books. They were just happy I was reading. Yeah, and Oh my gosh, there was all kinds of comics in there. Some I shouldn't have had at my age, but yeah, I ended up getting let's see here, Dead Man Exorcism in it. That was how I remembered. Yeah, that's how I really remembered Mike Barrett because I really liked this book right back
Very
then.
proud of that one. So is Kelly.
I was like, man, oh man, reading that, I was like, wow, this is really good and cool, and I read it over and over again. That's how I always remembered Mike Barrett.
Well, thanks, Chris.
Me, it's
So-
Nexus and Punisher, all of them.
I think the last, let me think. Yeah, I only have one or two Nexus books, and the last Badger book I remember getting was down at the Apple Harvest. There was a gentleman that always sells books, and he had a Badger, and it was the Badger, and he was like up against like I think a wall or something. He looked all beat up, and he was looking at you, you know. And I think that was the last one I bought. It was part of a big stack. I have so many books I haven't even gotten to read yet.
Well, we hope that badge will be in print again soon. We have a publisher who's interested.
Yeah, like is there how do you say graphic novels where they've bundled them all together?
There are 5 IDW collections of the Badger that are square bound if you can find them. They came out about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up, see if I can hunt them down, because that would be probably a lot easier than trying to go to like conventions and flea markets and hunt them down.
Well, I have them all.
Wink,
Uh,
wink.
so
And, you know, I'm not hanging on to them for my health. So if anybody really needs certain issues, they can contact me through my Twitter feed at Bloody Red Baron or on Facebook on my Mike Barron author page.
Soul says he's got the Punisher Epic Collection jigsaw puzzle this year, which has Mike in it too.
That's right. I just got my copy, well, a little while ago.
Yeah, I just pulled that one out earlier. You're showing it to Chris when I'm like, that was one of the Punishers I really liked that you worked on.
Oh, that Carl wrote that one.
Yeah, but you're included in the trade.
Oh, that's right.
It's the big trade, like,
Right.
so you're included. It's the first 12 issues, 13 issues. Something like that.
Oh gosh.
Oh, this is what I was doing now. Doing one of the sketch cards with Vincent.
Nice.
Sim never wastes time. He's always doing something.
How do you have to stay productive at all time? Multitasking, buddy.
That's something I learned from one of my mentors, Kevin J. Anderson, who writes the Dune novels. Is that when you think you're going to write a book and make a fast killing, that's a fallacy.
Yep.
There are 1 to 2 million novels published in this country every year. A lot of them are self-published, and a lot of them aren't very good. But even a number of really great novels don't ever find an audience, and there's no justice to it. Nobody's entitled to an overnight sensation. So a novelist is kind of like a bricklayer. It's just once you're done building one wall, you turn to the next wall. And I've realized that. So I am trying to write 3 to 4 novels a year, which may seem like a lot. But for me, it's just something I do every day. And that's how they get done is I get up and I work on them every day. And I'm not nearly as productive as my friend Kevin. Kevin is a world-class selling science fiction writer, and he regularly publishes books that are 220,000 words or more. But he does this by dictating the novel into a recorder and having it transcribed for him. So he doesn't spend time at the keyboard. He does most of this while hiking through the mountains. And because of that, I think that it's affected his narrative voice, which when you're talking into a recorder and you're looking at all this glory all around you, it leads to an omniscient point of voice. And or point of view. And by that I mean he'll have a long chapter, and in the course of that chapter, he will jump from character to character and reveal their feelings and thoughts from each character. He'll have multiple points of view in a single chapter. I tend to favor a strict, personal, close point of view where each chapter is seen through the eyes of one character. And this is something I learned from John D. MacDonald. All those Travis McGee novels are told in the first person. You know what the first person is. I went into the room. The second person is you went into the room. And the third person is he went into the room. When you do the first person, you're necessarily limiting every bit of information the reader gets through the eyes of your protagonist. But that need not be limiting at all if you have a sharp-eyed protagonist.
I could listen to this all day.
I know, right?
Just soak in the knowledge. But all right, we are past the hour mark, unfortunately, and I've got family members running in and out here. I've got phone calls going off, so I should probably start to wrap it up. It seems like the world is telling me it's time to go.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for this opportunity. It was a pleasure, and I'd love to do it again.
Well, thank you for coming.
You're welcome anytime, Mr. Barron. You're welcome on any time. I appreciate you being on. It means a lot. I'm sure everybody listening really enjoyed this. I know I did.
Yeah, you was a nervous wreck. we're getting the Baron on go, yeah?
Signing off.
Yep. Bye, sir.
Later. And I'm done with that one.
How you going, Sam? You're just pumping them out.
Yeah, I still have a few to do. Not that many.
Yep. So everyone, if you haven't, please do go and check out Florida Man. Mike clearly is very very much enjoys this, and gosh, it sounds funny. It sounds really funny. I got my copy. I made sure to grab me a $25 graphic novel. If you got the money and you like all the different memorabilia, you can get a lunchbox and everything. That sounds pretty cool. But
yeah, you're talking about a legend that's been writing comics for a freaking long time.
yeah, I mean, he clearly is a top talent, as it were. He's clearly got the experience, so you know you're going to get something good.
And it's fun to hear him talk about storytelling.
Yeah, hopefully we can get him back on sometime to learn more.
Yep.
But anyway, Sam, you got anything you want to?
No, other than I'm hard at work right now in fulfillment for Blood Hunt, and meanwhile, go sub to Telson and Adverse.
And as always, of course, please do subscribe and like and all that good stuff. And join me here our next morning show. We will be having Ryan Cardinal and Metal Movies and Brewskis, who is the creator behind Butch Cleaver. Took me a second there. The coffee hasn't fully gotten rid of the sleepiness, I guess.
Oh no! Are you halfway through it?
God.
Or you're
I don't honestly. I don't even think I'm halfway through it. This stuff is so bad. I'm just sipping. God, it tastes so bad. The last one I didn't even finish. I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish this one either.
I keep telling you, just grab regular fucking coffee.
Oh, I thought this was regular coffee. What is regular coffee?
Dude, if it's called Black Eye or whatever, Dead Eye, it's a mix of coffee and espresso. Dude, espresso, you know what it is? An espresso?
No.
It's an overly condensed coffee. It's like, it's like having 3 cups in one.
Oh.
It tastes like shit.
Okay. So what? Do I just ask them for dark coffee?
Just ask them for a coffee. Like, I want a
Well-
strong coffee, like a Colombian or something like that. And which one? You go, one that keeps me awake, and that's it.
Well, hopefully by Friday or Monday, I'll be able to get the K-Cup machine. I'll be able to find it over on Mom's side and get it set up, and I'll be able to make my own because I went to the store the other day and they had a bunch of marked down coffees. So I probably have like 10 boxes or so, or 10 or 15 boxes of K-Cups and like 5 bags of regular old coffee and all this stuff. So I've got coffee for like a year.
You mean the Keurig thing? Is that what?
Yeah, the Keurig.
Oh, that shit.
Oh God, this coffee shit.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be time for me to go eat something and get some coffee because I didn't get my coffee yet. It's so goddamn hot here. I was drinking iced tea.
Ask them for a dark roast. No worries about it. Well, you never know. The best coffee is Pam Grier. Ooh, I haven't heard of that. And apparently Soul agrees.
Pam Grier. I'm gonna have to. We're gonna have to check that one out.
Check that one out. Yeah. Yeah, I've got a bunch of different kinds now. So here at the house, so I'll be trying those out as soon as I can get the machines and get them in here. But yeah, next show will be Ryan Cardinal and the creator behind Butch Cleaver, and then after that, we'll be having Anthony Figueroa.
Sweet.
So I've been getting me some guests. I've been trying to get some guests lined up ahead of time. Trying to be a responsible host. And I'll see who else I can grab. But anyway, we're gonna cut this one. I apologize again, everyone, for being a little late. I've got some stuff going on here, personal stuff going on here, not on the positive. So I do appreciate everyone coming. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a moment.
It's okay. I just realized I was still connected to Discord. I forgot to get.
Oh, is there people in it?
Richard comes in. Hi. I'm like, oh, hold on. I was writing him like, hold on. Forgot I was in here.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and end it. Thanks everybody for coming, and be sure to tune in next one.
And our morning song will be back next show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sim got a little sloppy.
No, you skipped the gun in that one.
No, you just got sloppy. That's all it was.
Oh, so that's it. Hashtag blame Sim again.
Yeah, it's always blame Sim. Soul says, saw you both got Facebook Deathwing, didn't play this co-op yet, so let me know when you intend to. Okay, Soul. Yeah, I didn't get it. It was so much as I was given it.
It's my bro that bought it for us.
So, yeah, we'll have to get a hold of it. We can all play together.
Yep.
So, later, everybody.
Later.